Hello, my name is Carrie Strotman, Section Head, Urban Planning and Territory Management of the Urban Planning and Engineering Department of the City of Dollard-des-Ormeaux. Avant de commencer, j'aimerais juste vous dire qu'une version française est disponible de cette vidéo. As part of the revision of our city's urban planning program, Council mandated us to present a preliminary version of the main changes contained in the new urban planning program in order to validate its acceptability with the population. These preliminary orientations are further to the various public consultations that have been carried out over the last 3 years. The information that we are presenting during this current consultation concerns the main issue with respect to revising the urban planning program, namely the redevelopment for mixed commercial and residential purposes of land sites with transformation potential. These land sites, as we will see later, are mainly located along our main arteries of Saint-Jean, des Sources, and de Salaberry Boulevards. For all other areas of the city of Dollard-des-Ormeaux, the next urban planning program presents little or no change, thus confirming the vocation of residential areas and existing parks and green spaces. To present this information, 2 videos were produced and are available on the city's website. Each of these 2 videos is also available in French. The first video available on the city's website presents general information, such as the characteristics of our territory and of our population, but also the details of each of the sectors targeted by potential transformation into mixed commercial and residential use. We invite you to view the video as it is helpful in understanding the propositions being put forth here. The second video, which will follow shortly, presents the proposed development standards that would be applicable to mixed-use projects, such as density, maximum height, lot coverage, etc. More specifically, this video will focus on the following themes: the transformation strategies applicable to Dollard-des-Ormeaux, the proposed regulatory framework, how to participate in the process. Do not hesitate to present the pause button and take your time to carefully read the information that we are presenting. We will now present the details of the strategy that the city wishes to deploy in its new urban planning program in order to create stimulating living environments on a human scale while responding to the housing and mobility challenges. This strategy also corresponds to the planning context of the Montreal agglomeration and the Montreal metropolitan community, which must be respected. Details on the regional planning context were presented in the first video. The most important modification proposed in the next urban planning program is the addition of a residential use in areas where only a commercial and service vocation are currently authorized. The objective is to diversify the uses in these commercial areas by adding the possibility of integrating residential use to allow for the development of mixed-use projects. What we wish to highlight on this slide is the difference between the traditional way of developing our cities through the separation of the territory by specific use, as we can see in the image to the left, in comparison to a mixed-use approach, as shown on the image to the right. In sectors with potential for transformation, we seek to promote a mix of uses with human-scale developments focused on active and collective transportation. By authorizing residential use in zones with an exclusively commercial vocation, a higher density of housing is intended. This will help to support local commercial activities, will offer a greater quantity of diversified housing, and will consolidate and diversify the modes of public and active transportation. Here we present a non-exhaustive list of advantages of mixed living environments. These include housing availability and diversity, more social interactions, sustainable mobility options, the efficient use of space, the contribution to economic vitality and synergy, energy and resource conservation, the reduction of heat islands, and the use of existing infrastructure. The proposed regulatory framework constitutes the bulk of the following slides we will be presenting. Each of the standards will be presented in detail for each of the sectors presenting a potential for transformation. Please be reminded that these transformation sectors were the subject of a detailed presentation in the first video, which we invite you to consult. These are the same sectors that will be presented in the next slides. To begin, let us be clear that the proposed strategy aims at expanding the housing supply by promoting an approach that respects the current built environment of Dollard-des-Ormeaux and that is adapted to its demographic context. We can see in the circle to the right the various tools available to encourage and structure the diversity of functions in sectors presenting a potential for transformation. Land use, as previously mentioned, is through the addition of a residential use to the uses already authorized in our commercial sectors. Lot coverage is the proportion of the land occupied by the main building, which we also know as the footprint of the building. Density, which is the number of dwelling units in relation to a land area that is usually measured in hectares. Parking ratio, which is the minimum number of parking spaces required per dwelling unit. Amenity area, which is an uncovered or open recreational area with a minimum surface area that varies depending on the number of dwelling units. And finally, bylaw concerning site planning and architectural integration programs, also known by its acronym SPAPE, in order to ensure a coherent interface of future projects with the existing built environment. Here we have the conditions that will be applied to any development project that will include a residential use in sectors with transformation potential. So maintaining the commercial space in redevelopment projects, encouraging the establishment of ground floor retail and service spaces in mixed-use areas, ensuring harmonious integration with existing buildings through the use of the SPAPE bylaw, limiting the lot coverage of the main building to 30% of the land site, which is a reduction from the lot coverage of up to 33% that is currently permitted, maintaining the required amenity areas for recreation and relaxation at a ratio of 28.8 meters square per dwelling unit, modifying the parking ratios per dwelling unit to 1.5 spaces per unit for residential projects and 1.25 spaces for projects located in transit-oriented development areas, which are situated within a 1 kilometer radius of a REM station, and requiring 90% of the residential parking spaces to be constructed underground. We will now present the other development standards for each of the sectors presenting a potential for transformation, more specifically, the proposed dwelling density per hectare, as well as the maximum authorized height in meters. In terms of density, we will see that what is proposed in the new urban planning program is comparable to the current requirements. And in terms of height, which will be used to limit the scale of the projects, we will compare the heights proposed in the new urban planning program with the heights that are currently authorized in our commercial zones. In most cases, the proposed heights in meters are lower than currently authorized. In the four sectors situated on Saint-Jean Boulevard, the proposed density is 150 dwelling units per hectare, with a maximum authorized height set at 24 meters in height, or approximately 7 stories, for the 2 sectors in the center, identified as sectors B, in which you'll find, among other businesses, Shakespeare Plaza and Centre Saratoga, and C, in which you find a gas station and the small Les Galeries Saint-Jean strip mall. 30 meters in height, or approximately 9 stories, for section D to the south, in which you find Blue Haven Plaza, Place Muley, gas stations and other businesses, and in section A to the north of the boulevard, in which you find several car dealerships, a strip mall, and other businesses. In comparison to the current norms, the density is similar, and the maximum heights in meters have been reduced. In addition, a minimum commercial area will be required on the ground floor for projects located at intersections or when a commercial vocation is already present. Sectors A to D identified for Des Sources Boulevard are presented on this slide. In Sector A, which is situated within a transit-oriented development area, which is at a distance of less than 1 kilometer from the future Pierrefonds-Roxborough REM station, and where you will find, among other businesses, the Dollard Shopping Center. The proposed density is 200 dwelling units per hectare, with a maximum height of 30 meters, or approximately 9 stories. For sectors B to D, the proposed density is 150 dwelling units per hectare, with a maximum height of 21 meters, or approximately 6 stories. And in comparison to the current norms, the density is a little higher in sector A, but similar in sectors B to D, and the maximum height in meters has been reduced. In addition, a minimum commercial area will be required on the ground floor for projects located at intersections or when a commercial location is already present. We will now look at sector E on Des Sauces Boulevard in more detail. Subsectors E1, E2, and E3 are located on either side of Des Sauces, north of de Salaberry, which is in the direction of Pierrefonds-Roxborough. The proposed density in these sectors is 150 dwelling units per hectare, with a maximum height of 24 meters, or 7 stories, in sector E1, and 27 meters, or 8 stories, in sector E3. The maximum height in sector E2 was set at 30 meters, or 9 floors, to take into account the new mixed-use building under construction at the intersection of Des Sauces and Hyman. Subsector E4 is situated on both sides of Des Sauces and corresponds to the section of the boulevard occupied by Centennial Plaza. The proposed density in this sector is 150 dwelling units per hectare, with a maximum height of 27 meters, or 8 stories. The density is similar to that currently permitted, but the maximum height has been reduced. Subsectors E5 and E6 are located on the southern limits of the city near Autoroute 40 and are situated in the transit-oriented development area of the future Des Sauces REM station. Here we find Galerie des Sauces and the land site located at the intersection of Brunswick. The proposed density in these two sectors is 200 dwelling units per hectare, with a maximum height of 45 meters for Galerie des Sauces, the Galerie des Sauces land site, or approximately 14 stories and 39 meters at the intersection with Brunswick, or approximately 12 stories. These standards are the highest since the sector is inside a transit-oriented development area at a distance of less than 1 kilometer from the future REM des Sauces station. A minimum commercial area will be required on the ground floor for projects located at intersections in transit-oriented development areas or when such activities are already present. In the Marché de l'Ouest sector of de Salaberry Boulevard, the proposed density is 200 dwelling units per hectare, with a maximum authorized height set at 30 meters, or approximately 9 stories, as compared to the currently authorized maximum height of 32 meters. The density is higher here due to the proximity of public facilities and the future REM station, and the large right-of-way on de Salaberry, which separates Marché de l'Ouest from the existing residential area to the north. In this sector, any redevelopment project must maintain the existing commercial floor area, both interior and exterior, and conserve the farmers market vocation. In the Sunnybrook sector, at the intersection of Spring Garden, a density of 60 dwelling units per hectare is proposed, with a maximum authorized height set at 15 meters, or approximately 4 stories, compared to the current norms, which do not limit the maximum height. A minimum commercial area will be required on the ground floor. In the implementation of the urban planning program, the action plan will call for a series of studies, plans, and measures relating to mobility in order to ensure the success of this strategy. These measures are to include a sustainable mobility master plan, which integrates the addition of active transportation corridors to the REM station, the optimization of the bus and mass transit network in collaboration with the STM, improvement and safety programs for bike paths, sidewalks, and intersections, a program to improve public spaces near bus stops, a study and action plan in order to optimize traffic flows, and steps to encourage the extension of the Jacques Bizard corridor. Not everything will happen in the next year, just as not all sectors with transformation potential will be developed within the next year. The planning horizon is part of a long-term perspective of 10 to 15 years. This is where the second of our two video presentations presenting the preliminary orientations of the next urban planning program ends. We invite you to watch the first video presentation, which is available on the city website. In it, you can read in detail the development proposals for these sectors with transformation potential. Should you wish to discuss the development proposal, ask questions, or provide your comments and suggestions, we invite you to come and meet us at the Civic Center on Thursday, April 4th or Saturday, April 6th at the times mentioned. You can also share your opinions with us by email through the website or by completing the questionnaire that will be made available during the open house event. The questionnaire will then be accessible on the website until April 15th, 2024. Thank you for your attention.